You're listening to the Never Heard of It podcast,
a Night Shift Radio original. Every week we bring you the good,
the bad,
the weird,
and lesser known streaming movies.
Hit subscribe for new episodes every Thursday and Sunday.
So, Michael, we were recently talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special with our friend Casey from the Superpod Hero Cast. And of course, I mentioned that one of my favorite moments was also one of the most surprising, really caught me off guard because I would never have expected this. When Drax fights a man in a GoBots costume and saying something about GoBots killed his entire family. Something like that.
So random, and I loved it.
First of all, does that mean the Challenge of the GoBots is now MCU canon?
I mean, I think that means that everything GoBots related is 100% MCU canon. Thank you, James Gunn. He lit that fire and then ran off to DC and was like, "Good luck, motherfuckers!"
I love it so much. I mean, there was so several years back when I was living in Oakland and went to Cape and Cowl Comics. Shout out to Eitan, runs a fucking great shop there. If you're in the Oakland area, go support him. Awesome dude. Marvel and Hanna-Barbera did a run of comics. I think it had to have been Marvel, I guess. I don't remember at this point. But one of the big two, and Hanna-Barbera did a run of comics that were resurrecting old Hanna-Barbera properties in new and interesting ways. So there was a Scooby-Doo one that was post-apocalyptic, zombie monsters. There was a Wacky Racers that was full on Mad Max style. There was a hyper realistic Flintstones, and there was GoBots, and I got really stoked about that. And so after seeing that moment in Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, I was telling you and Casey about how when I was a child, and you I think both remember this as well, Wendy's did a promotion for the 1986 season with GoBots toys. And my family, we were going to Wendy's on a fairly regular basis. That was kind of our one fast food thing that we would do because my dad liked Wendy's. Sure. So if there was a time that he didn't have time or didn't want to cook or was just craving fucking Biggie fries, I don't know, junior bacon cheeseburger or something, we would go to Wendy's. And this is one of the only times in my childhood that I was ever able to collect the kids' meal toys. We either typically didn't go often enough or just went at really random times or I wasn't able to get there was various reasons. It doesn't matter why, but I got all but one. And we missed that last one by a day. It was the second to last because we went and they were already on to a new one and they just didn't have any more of the other one. They just there wasn't any to be found. They couldn't help this heartbroken little 5-year-old who was having a meltdown about something completely unrelated, but it manifested because he really wanted this toy. Fast forward to now, and Casey found and sent me the one GoBots toy that I was missing. And mind you, I don't have the others anymore, but somehow my life still feels complete and at peace.
Absolutely complete because of this.
As I now have the powwow from the Wendy's 1986 Kids Meal GoBots Happy Meal toys.
That is such an insanely, Casey messaged me and was like, what's the address? I'm gonna send Bree this thing. And I was like, do it. Let's go. And so off he sent you that thing, and I was like, that's brilliant. So I gave him your address so we could
It just showed up at the perfect time, on the perfect serendipitous moment in my life. And it's everything is at peace and full of joy and love today.
It was a perfect, well-rounded out moment. It was that's a Christmas miracle if I've ever heard of one.
It really was. It really was. So shout out to Casey for just really, really making my week and making baby buckets happy. Finally,
baby buckets. I love it. Yeah.
But on a more serious note, we I think it was just last week we were talking about Willow. Yeah.
Yes.
And so earlier this week, Ellen and I, we watched the movie. Ellen for the first time, me rewatching for the first time since we were kids. And I got to tell you, I did not expect, especially like realizing again that Lucas was involved in this, because you know how I feel about the Star Wars franchise. I did not expect that film to hold up from 1988 to now, but holy shit, it was like, with some exceptions made for cheesiness because it was an 80s fantasy film. It really fucking holds up and was really fun. And
It really does.
like,
It feels still felt magical.
it felt magical. It felt like whimsical. It felt like a big adventure. And I loved that, like, it really bucked a lot of the trends of the fantasy genre, especially at that time where, like, Val Kilmer was not the hero, and like the women were the powerful figures, and like it was so great. I loved it. So I was very
and
excited.
even the minority of a little person being the hero too, which was also very unheard of in the 80s. That would have, I mean, that is completely different story nowadays. I think only slightly, but
a lot of hero's journey type elements that were like really well done in this context. I loved it. So we started watching the series. There's 3 episodes available as of right now, and next one comes out this week. We only got through 2 last night, but I love it. It feels so well done as like an immediate follow on. Like, they do have to give you a little bit of feeding of like stock footage from the film just to remind you, like, hey, remember those things we did, but then they jump right into the story and it makes sense, and they carry on that sense of like, the women in this universe are like, they're powerful, they're respected. The Nelwyn, the little people that Willow is a part of, also still have a very big role, and it's fun, it's lighthearted, there's a sense of gravitas to it, as all good fantasy needs. But I don't know, I really, really enjoy it. So that's my quick follow on.
Are you on episode? You're all 3 episodes that are currently available as of recording this episode.
We've only watched the first 2, so we haven't watched episode 3 yet.
Well, so spoilers for the Willow series. If you haven't watched it, this is your spoiler warning. Come back in like 5 minutes. But I think that the character of Elora Danan and the main character, you've got three lead women characters. You've got the warrior girl, the daughter of Sorsha and Mad Mardigan, and Elora Danan. I think you don't need all 3 of them. I think the warrior character and Elora Danan should have been the same character. It was just like so weird. It was like, you're building up this warrior character. You've got Sorsha's daughter, who's a good warrior. And then you just throw in this, like, you relegated her to like a servant girl, but she's the most powerful being in the world. Like, it just was, I was like, this feels poorly written with that part.
Understand why you say that, but I completely disagree. And I think that they're setting us up for something really interesting, either in a big reveal with the Elora Danan character, or a total flip-flop that, like, the prophecy didn't matter. It was the way that people responded to the prophecy that because Elora Danan, like, in the original film, was supposed to be this powerful child that would destroy evil Queen Bavmorda. And so it's the Queen's...
Bavmorda! I just love that part.
It's the Queen's belief in and reaction to the prophecy that sets off the chain of events that leads to her downfall, which is often the case in prophecy stories, that it's not actually the subject of the prophecy who does anything important to bring about the end of evil. It is the evil reacting to, and we saw that in fucking the Potter franchise. It was the exact same idea, which I think JK just stole most of her shit. Nothing original about that story. But
I mean, let's be real. The racism was pretty
rough.
Choking.
It's whoo. But Elora Danan is a baby throughout the entire film and does nothing, and yet somehow brings about, in quotes, the end of Queen Bavmorda. Great, okay, but now we have this prophecy that, like, an even greater evil is going to return, and somehow Elora Danan is part of it. But Will she be? I mean, went so far as to like hide her away and like not tell her who she is, and so she grows up thinking she's someone completely different. And like that's something we learn about like pretty early in the first episode. So that's not really
like
a
the
major
first 20 minutes of the first episode.
That's not really a major spoiler, but it sets up, I think, a really interesting storyline for her because she now has to either go through like a major hero's journey and like try to come out the other end a great sorcerer, ostensibly like what happened with Willow, though I think we're seeing more and more that like Willow's journey is a bit more showmanship and a bit less sorcery than it's been implied, which I like. Or she's going to have a completely different story, and it's just going to be, again, people's belief in the prophecy about her that spurs them all on. Meanwhile, Kit and Jade, I am here for. I shipped them from the first moment they were on screen together, and
so that's what I'm saying, because as soon as we see Kit and Jade, I'm like, oh, got it. One of them is Elora Danan, and then when they reveal it's the other girl, I was like, what? Why? Like, why wouldn't it be Jade? I don't understand. Like, the whole movie, I was like, oh, Kit. She, Sorsha and Madmartigan take in Elora Danan. They raise her as though she is their own child and say, like, no, this is our kid. This isn't Elora Danan, the prophetic, person or whatever.
But they would never have been able to get away with that, though. There would have been way too much scrutiny for them to suddenly have another child when everyone knows that they brought a child with them. So they had to go away. Like Elora Danan had to, quote unquote, go away, but they had to keep her close enough to keep an eye on her. So,
which is why it should have been Jade. Because it's like, then that's what they do. They keep her super close and not throw her in the kitchen like Cinderella, some servant girl. That's where I'm like, it's too many characters. You could have made them one character. But the thing is, Kit is the same age as Elora Danan. So give or take a year or two.
They're like a year or two younger at least. But like potentially as much as 4 years. Because this whole story is supposed to have taken place roughly 20 years after the original, which means Elora Danan is 21-ish. But the kids, Kit and Eric,
would be younger than Elora Danan.
Yeah, who's named after Madmartigan's friend, the soldier. I loved that. That was a very sweet moment. They're like mid to late teens. They are not. They are not adults yet. So there's enough of a gap there. So again, that would be obvious, and you want their friends to be like in their peer group and whatnot. But even like Elora has a scene where like she reveals like nobody put her in the kitchens. She found like a thing that she loved to do that like
she loved it,
made her feel like she had a purpose and whatnot. So like she worked her way to that and discovered like, hey, I can do this and I'm really fucking good at it. So I liked that. They didn't make her a servant girl. Like she kind of found a place that she fit while they kept her close. But I still think that the whole thing is going to be a bit more complicated than it seems on the surface now. And I also like, I'm a sucker for like a fellowship. You know, it seems like, they've got this huge party that's traveling together, but like that creates a lot of opportunity for like interesting tension and for moments of whimsy and for big grand adventures. Or if they have to split, then you have like these smaller groups that they can split into in various combinations that can be either hilarious or dramatic or whatever. So I like it. I'm here for it. Flash Thompson being the prince.
Yeah,
love that. And the guy, like, we get a little bit of Madmartigan's backstory after the film and why Val Kilmer isn't in this series. Aside from the real life things of Val Kilmer is very sick and he can't act anymore. I did not know that.
Yeah, he has like MS or something.
Okay.
Like he has some very serious illness, so like he can't act anymore, at all. So that's another reason why he is not in the series. It's very sad that he can't be in the series.
I mean, that makes it even more poignant, I guess. Like I appreciate how they've written the character Borman. Yeah, Borman. To kind of give us an homage to the character that was Madmartigan without Val Kilmer being able to be there. And now knowing that Val Kilmer literally couldn't be, and it wasn't just like a conflict or like, nah, I don't want to fucking do that shit anymore. But like couldn't be there. That makes it even more special that they like you start out thinking like, oh, Mad Mardigan just fucking pieced out because that's who Mad Mardigan is, but then you learn that no, he was on this
On like
this
a mission.
journey, and like
Yeah.
it, like assuming Mad Mardigan is dead, which we don't really know, but assuming he's dead, he died heroically, and like cool, like that's a good ending for that character that we got to know in the movie. So far 2 episodes in, I'm loving it, and I think you're wrong.
Talk to me after you watch the 3rd episode. I need to make a correction. Val Kilmer ended up with throat cancer and had a tracheotomy and can no longer speak.
Gotcha,
or has limited speech at least.
That sucks.
I know, which going into the series, knowing that, I was like, okay, so obviously they're gonna kill the Mad Mardigan character off. Like he would have just died, a couple of years ago, or for some reason or something. Yeah. But then when they were like, oh no, he was off on this quest, I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like he's the character still alive in the series, I mean, that we think of so far. And I was like, very interesting. What are they going to do with that?
So you could also recast him in a way that shows like he's older now. So like you could get someone who looks like an older Val Kilmer. Also, like Borman was kind of a wild card at first, because like looking at it, like, they've got him locked away in the dungeon for vague reasons, but like Sorsha still goes and like hangs out and talks to him, and they have this whole notion of like, I'll pardon your crimes, and like Mad Mardigan ran off in quotes, and like all these things. I'm like, wait a second, are they playing that's like actually Mad Mardigan, and he like did something to like get himself banished, but like she can't bring herself to like actually get rid of him, and like
right.
The actor kind of looks a little bit like what they were trying to make Val Kilmer look like in the 80s. And like, I don't know what we're doing here, but like, it's not. And I appreciate that. So I am really intrigued to see. So like, there's going to be 8 episodes, I think, according to IMDb. So I have 6 episodes to go, and I am here for this ride.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still, I'm still down for obviously I will watch the whole series because Warwick Davis is amazing.
Yes.
Still, like he still pulls off Willow so incredibly well, especially after episode 3. There's a revelation in episode 3 that like I think really makes me be like, cool, tell me everything about that. I want the next 6 episodes or the next 5 episodes to be about that, because that's really fucking interesting. Mm-hmm. So you'll see after you watch episode 3. But it's good. Yeah, so Willow, good. I'm glad that you guys finally got around to watching that, because it is the first 2 episodes really pleased me, and after episode 3, I'm still in. I have some questions, but I'm still very much into the series. So,
well, next time we talk, it should be at least 4 episodes down. So, so
we'll have a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. This is now a Willow podcast.
Yeah. By the way, this is a Willow after show. We really should have. Really missing out. So you've probably noticed that I have red and green lights today.
I have.
For those of you watching on YouTube, for those of you not, hey, all of our Thursday episodes are entertainment episodes are available on YouTube, youtube.com/@nightshiftmg. You can watch us on YouTube, subscribe, brand new episodes every Thursday. Woo! Plug. But yeah, because it's Christmas in a couple of days. So Christmas is coming up this weekend. For those of you that celebrate Hanukkah, it just started a couple of days ago, or this past Sunday. So happy Hanukkah. Yeah. But for those for whatever else you celebrate, happy that holiday. And if you don't celebrate anything, good for you. Hey. Good for you. I am happy that you don't get sucked into this neo-capitalist society.
Yeah. Just hope you're making it through the dark months with whatever finds you joy.
Yes, exactly. So it's Christmas. We have a Christmas movie coming up that we're watching called A Merry Friggin' Christmas, which is available on Hulu, and it stars Robin Williams and Joel McHale. So if you're the type of person that watches the movies before we review them, that's where it is. But I just went and saw a Christmas movie at a special screening just the other day.
Oh, tell me more.
I went and saw The Binge 2, It's a Wonderful Binge Miss. Yes. I went to the Syracuse premiere of it, hung out with our good friend Jordan Van Dyne, who was the writer and director for this one, and he wrote the original Binge.
Love it.
So I got to hang out with Jordan and watch his movie. This is his directorial debut. crazy. I mean, if you watched the first Binge movie,
Oh yes.
and you enjoyed everything that had to that with like, you know, the drug humor and just the pure insanity, you are going to absolutely love It's a Wonderful Binge Miss, because it is that dialed up to like 11.
It is very excited for this movie.
It is all, I mean, everything is in it. It is like absolutely crazy. You know, a lot of returning characters, a few added characters, which is really awesome. Danny Trejo is in it. Tim Meadows is in it. Yeah, it is crazy, but I think it was a very good sequel. So very excited to have shared that experience with that. They did a double feature. They showed The Binge, and then afterwards they showed It's a Wonderful Binge, and they did a Q&A with Jordan Van Dyne.
Neat.
And the producer, the director of the first one, Jeremy Gerlich.
Neat.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool. It was really great. The after the Q&A was great. There was a lot of really great questions. You know, one of the very valid questions is, why was Skylar Galando not in the second one? He plays Griffin in the first film. Mm-hmm. You know, and it was just he was just busy. He was shooting the Royal Gemstones, so he couldn't make it to this one. It just, schedules didn't line up. But if there's a Binge 3, he is ready to go.
Nice.
For that one. But Dexter Darden and Eduardo Franco come back for this episode, and they're the main this movie, and they're the main characters for it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see it. We saw that pop up on the TV the other day, and we're like, shit, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I had a good time. You know, it's seeing movies with an audience, you know, especially a comedy movie like that is really great, because you laugh harder than you would just like sitting at home.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, I mean, obviously this is a Hulu original, so it's not like it's in theaters. Like, you can't just go to the theaters instead, right? Like, you are stuck watching it at home with, you know, your unit, your family unit. But yeah, like it reminded me how comedies like that work really well in a theater setting, because like I definitely laughed at things I wouldn't have laughed at, but just because other people were laughing. I'm not saying that they weren't funny, but it was just one of those things where I just would have been like, oh, that's cute. Instead, I was like, oh my God, I was laughing like out loud. It's just because it was the vibe of the audience.
I have found that like some of the dumbest movies are so much better shared, because that laughter is infectious, and those moments that would just be like, whatever, like one person laughs and you're like, fuck, okay, yeah, that is funny. Or like the other person's reaction is funny, and that like feeds it. And like, it's a really good energy. And I love the idea of doing a local premiere for the film.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was great. They did an LA premiere, and then they did a Syracuse premiere shortly after. So that's a really great example. We were just talking about this. Napoleon Dynamite is that movie for me. I went and saw that on a press screening, one where it was like the special, you know, the press pass ones. And I went and saw that, and I remember leaving that movie being like, holy shit, that was really funny. And then I watched it again, and I was like, wait a minute, this actually isn't that funny.
It's not.
Like, it's just stupid. And I was like, weird, because I remember laughing so hard in the theater for that movie. I remember like thinking it was so funny. And it's weird that like, you know, watching again, I was like, but it was because everyone in the theater was laughing. Like, everybody was in on the joke, basically.
All told me how hilarious that movie was, and how I just had to see it, and how it was the greatest thing. And of course, you know, as was the trend, everybody was just constantly quoting it and like referencing it.
Yeah.
And like, I finally watched it, and I'm like, I hate myself for watching this. This removed joy from my life. Know what? Like, anytime I think about it, it still removes joy from my life.
You know, I know that this is just me being kind of a grump, but I felt the same way about Borat. Okay. Where everybody was like, oh my God, Borat, like blah, blah, blah. And even though there is some very funny moments in Borat, and there's some really good social commentary, when I watched Borat, I was like, all of the parts that you are quoting are the worst parts of the movie. Like every time somebody quotes a part of the movie, I'm like, that's the worst part of the movie you're quoting. Like that's the dumbest part of the movie. Like that's not even the good parts of this movie.
That's fair.
You know, where everyone's like, my wife, and you know, like all this. I'm like, those aren't even the funniest jokes. Like, like I didn't understand. But I think that is just me being an elitist snob.
I mean, maybe. I don't think I ever actually watched Borat. Like, I of course knew all the references because of the trailers and because of people like quoting it, but I don't think I ever actually sat and watched it. I am a fan of Sacha Baron Cohen and the characters that he plays, and like his comedy style. But I don't think that I ever actually watched it.
So the funny parts of Borat are when he does the like talk to the people, like, and tricks people into being stupid or racist or something like that. Like that's the funny parts of the thing, is because like, haha, people are stupid. But like all of the jokey jokes in between where he's the Borat character and like talking about, I'm like, yeah, I get it, but like that's not funny to me. That the part weren't as funny. I mean, it's still funny, but it's not. They just weren't the funniest parts to me or the cleverest parts for me.
I think that's got to be what it is too, because like I was familiar with Ali G show before Borat or any of his other characters got their own movies, and there's one specific episode that I still remember and still think about. It lives rent free in my head, where he gets a bunch of experts on technology and on computers and the internet and whatnot, a bunch of like curmudgeonly old men in a room, and starts talking about technology. What is it good for? How can we use it? It just like fucks with them. And
I love that. That's the funny stuff because he's clever.
They like either are really good at going along with the bit, or more believably have no fucking clue what's going on and are actually getting angry at this guy. I love it.
So I love that kind of humor, and I'm discovering this because I don't know if you've seen, they were very popular on TikTok just recently, but there's this, it's a character that I forgot what the woman's real name is, but the character is Philomena Cunk, and she does, she does like a historical show.
Okay.
But she's super funny because she just like makes jokes. So she'll say like one of the ones she was like, well, it's the Soviet onion. And he's like, no, I think you mean the Soviet Union. She's like, no, I'm pretty sure it's onion. But it's those things. But like she's interviewing like real historians, like there's one where she says like, where she's talking about Jesus, and she's like, there's a lot of pictures of Jesus as a baby or Jesus on the cross, but we never really get anything in between. I really think it's a missed opportunity to have the baby on the cross. Like, it's just really funny. So Philomena Cunk, it's a BBC show where she talks about history and stuff like that. It is absolutely hilarious, but it's that same sort of thing because she's interviewing the straight man type people that are like, what is going on right now? And she's like, no, I think you're wrong. And they're like,
It's the reason that Between Two Ferns works at all.
Exactly. It's exactly that. Yep.
The episode where he interviews Barack Obama. just goes right for it. And Barack's like, I'm going to burn this motherfucker. And he does.
My favorite one of this, and I always talk about this one, is the one with Paul Rudd. And, he says like, do you think you've been such a big success because you've hid your Jewness? And he was like, what? Paul Rudd's like, I didn't hide my Jewness. He's like, well, you're not a practicing Jew. And he's like, you're right. I'm not a practicing Jew. I've mastered it. It's like the most brilliant line. And I love that line. And I love that so much. But yeah, so Philomena Cunk is an interviewer for like current affairs, but she was on a show called Charlie Brooker's Weekly Wipe, which was like a Daily Show type show, and then she has these like mockumentaries. But the actress name is Diane Morgan. That's the comedian that plays Philomena Cunk, and it's Cunk on Britain is the most recent ones. So you'd have to check that out. It's absolutely, I'm telling you, like pinnacle of comedy for me.
If you're watching this on YouTube, as you should be with all of our bonus episodes, a very, very quick Google search revealed to me that there's a shit ton of Philomena Cunk videos on YouTube. So like once you're done watching this, you don't even have to leave the website you're on to enjoy this.
And since we wrote, I'm going to write Philomena Cunk into the description, you'll probably get a suggestion for her videos over on the right-hand side or, down below if you're on mobile. So like, it's just going to be right there. It's just going to be an easy click. This is going to be great for you. I'm very happy for you because we made it just a lot less work for you. And that's exciting.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
We love this journey for you. Yes, Merry Christmas.
Merry friggin' Christmas.
Merry friggin' Christmas. So that's it. We got a brand new episode this coming Sunday. It's the last episode, the last movie review of the year. We'll have one more episode before the year's out. That'll be next Thursday. That'll be our last episode of the year. But this is our last movie review of the year. Again, A Merry Friggin' Christmas stars Robin Williams on Hulu. So if you are the person that watches before we review, there it is. Go for it and watch it and then catch our brand new episode on Sunday. Hey, the way to do that, hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. For those of you watching on YouTube, hop over to your favorite podcast player, Apple, Spotify, Google, or whatever. Type in the Never Heard of It podcast. Even though there were like 3 other Never Heard of It podcasts, we outlived all of those motherfuckers. So we done did it.
Standing alone on top of the pile.
We just beat them out of just sheer force of will, just tenacity. Exactly. So check us out over there. Hit subscribe on here. You know the drill. Hey, thanks a lot for listening and watching, everyone. We super appreciate it. And as always, make sure to share with 100,000 of your closest Borats. I don't know. That was the one that came to mind.
Make sure to share it with my wife.
With my wife. Do also share it with your wives. That's important. They should be involved in the things that you find joy in. It's important for a healthy relationship.
It's true.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot for joining in. We will see you on Sunday.